Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me? I'm really glad to have you with us today. And can I just remind you of the rules? You raise your hands if you want to ask something aloud, and our host, Melanie, I'll tell her whether to take that call. You can write in the chat box, just make sure it's respectful. And right, so we are almost ready to start. Let me look at the clock. Okay, I think that I will start. So good morning, everybody. It's wonderful to have you today. Hopefully you've been joining us daily for grade 6 for the STEM lockdown school. Can I ask you if you were here last week when we had a reading lesson? Last week in our reading lesson, we did part 1 of the story, and this week we're going to carry on with part 2. So I'm just looking in the chat box and I'm seeing some no's and some yeses. Okay, well, I'm really glad to have you here today on our lockdown school. If you are on social media, don't forget the hashtag lockdown school with an E after down. Right, so let's get going. Now, why doesn't this want to go? There we go. So my name is Fiona Beale, and I am your grade 6 first additional language English teacher for the STEM lockdown digital school. So we have a busy lesson. I hope you've got pen and paper or a book and pen so that you can do some writing as well as reading today. If we have a discussion or something like that, all you do is you call out your answers where you are. And when we read, you'll read aloud so that you can practice your reading. Today is all about practicing reading. So this is what you'll do today. I'm sure you're wondering. We'll continue working on term 2, week 1 and 2 of our CAPS curriculum for reading and viewing. We'll have a discussion about the first part of the story so that if you weren't here, you'll find out what happened. We'll review the setting of the story and we'll also make a prediction about today's story. You'll read aloud with me. It's an exciting story. We'll review some of the vocabulary in the story and we'll answer questions about the story. Then we'll do some activities. For example, you're going to do a sequencing activity. You'll work out cause and effect, and you'll complete some further activities related to the story. Okay, got that? Good. Let's continue. So we're going to start off with a quick discussion about about bears. Now, this is the bear in our story, Bablu. He's well, let's see what questions I'm asking first. So our story involves this Himalayan bear, Bablu, who wanted to be famous. He was desperate to be famous. So can anybody in the chat box explain why he wanted to be famous? Can you talk about, well, let's see if somebody can answer. Someone's got their hand raised, Mel. So let's talk about his feelings. Why is he determined to be famous?
Ma'am, is it because he knows how to protect his family and he's the king in his jungle, ma'am?
That's an interesting answer, right? Any other ideas why he wanted to be famous?
Ma'am, because I think he wants to act tough. That's why he wants to be famous, ma'am.
He wants to act out.
He wants to act tough, ma'am, like strong, ma'am.
Okay, wants to show that he's strong. And somebody here in this chat box is saying that he probably wants attention.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, he's strong. He wants to be a hero. I like that one. He wants to be a hero. So What? Oh dear, I've left out the W in question 2. What does he want to do in order to be famous? What is he planning to do? Our Himalayan bear, Bablu. He wants to jump on the moon, somebody said. Good. Okay, let's go on. Why did he never listen to his mother? Remember, his mother was always running after him in the jungle saying, Bablu, come back, Bablu, Bablu, and he never seemed to listen. Why did he never listen? Was he just a naughty bear, or what happened? What do you think? Mel, shall we take an answer? Right. JD, what do you think?
That's a mistake, ma'am.
A mistake. Okay. Well, if nobody is answering, he never listened because he was always thinking of these great ideas, and he was mischievous, playful. Number 3, what did he look? Number 4, what did he look like? So I've given you a picture. I see Lorata's got a very good answer. He was always thinking about how he wanted to make his dream come true. I like that. So look at this picture. You can see he's a pitch black bear. He's got no white on his fur at all. So let's use that as our description, a pitch black hair with no white on his fur. And number 5, I've already given you the answer. Oh dear. Can you remember where he lived? Can you remember? Just fill us in the chat box. Where did he live? In which mountains? Any thoughts? The Himalayan mountains. Good. And last one, can you remember what kind of tree he wanted to climb to get to the moon? Where's this tree? When he looked up, it was very tall and it looked like it was touching the moon. Can you remember what kind it was? Starts with a D. What kind of tree was that? I suppose it would be a type of pine tree. Anyone got the answer starting with a D? D, 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 D. Okay, I'll tell you. A deodar tree. A deodar tree. The type of a cedar tree. All right, let's go on. I have got a question there. Do you also want to be famous? Do you want to be famous one day? I suppose we would all like to be famous, but maybe not. Okay, I'm not going to take any more raised hands because we've got to get on with our reading. Now, in this week of CAPS, they want you to understand exactly what setting means. So let's just review the setting of our story. There's a world map taken from our previous listening and speaking lesson called The Magic Glasses. And the Himalaya mountains are thereabouts where that white circle is. So the story takes place there. So if we had to look a bit closer, you'll see that the Himalaya mountains, which are very cold mountains, they border along a few countries. It's very, very cold in that part of the world. I certainly would not like to live there. I don't like that kind of cold weather, but this is where our main character Bablu lives. And you can see the deodar trees there growing in the mountain. And of course, as I mentioned before, the tallest mountain in the world is in the Himalaya mountains, and you all know what that is, right? It's the Mount Everest. So somebody's saying, what are we doing today? We are doing reading today. It's a reading lesson. So we're going to do part 2 of our story. Right, what's our story about? Can you predict? I'm calling it Bablu Bear Reaches for the Moon. And if we look at the pictures, we can see that he is climbing that tree as he predicted. And then we see that he's hugging. Is that his mommy that he's hugging? He's always running after him. And in the third picture, we can see that he's looking rather pleased. Do you think he has become famous? Maybe he has become famous or maybe not. Well, let's find out. Can you give me a story? Before we find out, can you just write your prediction? Just one sentence. Can you write your prediction? Looking at those pictures, what do you think? What do you think happens today? Any ideas? Is he going to touch the moon? Does he become famous? Anyone want to predict? Caitlin says he thinks of going to the moon. He's going to the moon. Someone said they think he becomes famous. Somebody said they think he'll touch the moon. Lots of interesting ideas. So let's carry on. Now, I want you to practice your reading. So you must read aloud with me, please. And remember to use appropriate pronunciation, to be fluent in your reading, and to put some expression into your reading. Okay, so let's read aloud together. Bablu reaches for the moon. Are you ready? Let's go. Bablu was very excited about his new plan to become famous. I'm just finding my story here. Okay, right. Newspapers would write about him and print his pictures. Everyone would want to interview him and ask him all sorts of questions. Bablu would answer the questions while sitting on the moon. Now, what would you have told him if you had been there? What would you have told him? What would you have told him? I won't take any raised hands now, but just call it out. Okay. Actually, you know what? I wish that there had been some intelligent child like you around to explain to Bablu about things. Maybe you could have explained to him that no matter how tall a tree is, of course it can't touch the moon. The moon's far away. From far down below, it just looks as though it's touching the moon. I wish that you were there to tell him that. But there was nobody like you there to talk sense into him. So, finally, after taking a deep breath, Bablu the bear set off towards the jungle. He began running as fast as his legs could carry him. Faster, faster, faster. He ran. He kept running until he reached his tree. He looked up at the tree from the jungle floor. Yes, his guess was right. The tree was as high as the sky, and it touched the moon. Without wasting a single moment, Bablu began climbing the tree, higher, 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 and higher still. So let's look at some pictures. There he is, thinking how he'd love to be in the newspaper. And there he is, setting off to find his tree. Let's go on. Are you reading with me? The tree was tall. The higher he climbed, the colder it got. He also noticed that the branches of the tree were getting thinner. But Bablu didn't really care. He just kept on climbing, higher and higher still. Eventually, he reached the top. And what do you think he found? He thought, look at that, the moon. The moment has come when everything will change. I'll be famous. His dreams were just one long jump away. But, of course, you know what happened, don't you? What happened, do you think? What do you think happened? Well, when he reached the very top of the tree and lifted his head to take that final leap onto the moon, he found that the moon was still as far away from him as it had ever been from the ground. It was still very, very, very far away. We all knew that, right? We all knew that would happen. So let's have a look at some pictures. There he is climbing up this tall tree that seems to be touching the moon. And Higher and higher, he was nearly at the moon. The moon was still far away. Let's carry on. It was only then that Bablu realized how foolish he'd been. He realized how true his mother's words were when she said, Bablu, you jump into doing something first, you think about it only afterwards. Bablu knew that the best thing for him to do was to quietly get down the tree and creep back to his cave in the den before anyone knew what he had been doing. But just as he was about to start going down the tree, there was a strange sound. Tell me if you can hear this sound. What sort of sound is that? What kind of sound is that, do you think? Rain, tree falling, rain, rocks falling. Okay. Well, yes, you've guessed. All around there was silence. No rustle, not a sound could be heard. The tree trunk broke. Let's go on. Bablu's mother suddenly awoke from a deep sleep. Bablu, she called out as she looked around. She just knew somehow that he was in trouble. Mother Bear ran through the jungle, shouting and calling for her beloved son. Bablu! Bablu! But Bablu lay there, still, on the cold, wet jungle floor. He didn't look up, he didn't stir, his eyes were closed, he was absolutely still, silent. Bablu! Oh no! Mother Bear went up to Bablu's still body. She turned him over. Oh no! A deep wound had torn his chest. His blood slowly reddened the jungle floor, and Bablu lay still, unmoving. Mother Bear leaned over her son, sobbing. Do you think he's okay? Do you think Bablu Bear is okay? What do you think? What are your thoughts? Do you think he's dead? Oh no. Let's see what happens. There he is, lying very still. You can see the big gash on his chest. There's Mother Bear noticing his red, gushing wound. Suddenly she felt a tickly feeling in her paw. What was that? What was this? A long piece of silver thread was dancing on her paw. It seemed to hang from the sky. Looking up, she saw the moon. Then she realized that the long thread was really a moonbeam. She looked up and she saw the moon smile and wink. It seemed to tell her, hurry up. She quickly picked up a pine needle from the forest floor and threaded the moonbeam through it. Then quickly, she began to sew the tear on Bablu's chest. As the last stitch was put in place, Bablu opened his eyes. She hugged her son and said, it's all right, my son, everything will be all right now. And there they are, hugging. Whew, thank goodness that he is alive, right? By this time, all the bears of the jungle had gathered to see what was happening. And when they saw the shining V on Bablu's chest, they were surprised. They didn't know that it was a moonbeam. They all began to shout, wow, Bablu, wow. And when all the bears got to know the story about Bablu and how he got his silver V, they began to shout that they also wanted one on their chests. So Mother Bear threaded moonbeams into many deodar pine needles and sewed shining silver V's onto the other bears' chests. As the line got longer and longer, she sewed harder and faster. Bablu laughed and clapped his paws together as he told and retold his story. Ah, yes, our little friend did become famous for being the first bear with a shiny V on his chest. Without his adventure, the great Himalayan bear would have been a plain black bear. Right, so there is Bablu with his beautiful new white or silver V, and all the bears are excited. He loves that V as well. And all the bears wanted one. So Mother Bear got to work and sewed them on the bears. And that's the end of our story. So basically, this story well, before I finish my sentence, what do you think happens next? There's the same 3 pictures. What do you think happens next? Can you write a sentence? So we've got Bablu with his new V that he likes, and we've got all the bears having their V sewn on. What do you think happens next? Do you think that Bablu ever gets onto the moon? Do you think he becomes famous and that he'll be in the newspapers? Do you think that he has achieved his goal? Will he be happy now thinking that he's famous? And why is he famous? What's he famous for? Any thoughts of what he's famous for now? So somebody has raised their hand. So Mel, can we have, can you check for us?
Oh yeah, dan gaan we gebeens ook daarin.
Sorry, can you say that again?
100
What's that?
tens. 10 tens that was like the hundreds is tens now.
Okay. Anyone else? Thank you. Anyone else?
Want to unmute him? Oh, I'm going to mute. Just give me a sec.
Any thoughts?
Smanga?
Can I please ask what was the question again? How
What
is
do you
he?
think? What does he become famous for?
Oh, that he got a nice new coat on his neck and it looks very nice. So all the bears are falling from the trees and asking the Bablu's mom to sew the you can see you can see the picture under Bablu's mom that there are some bears lying dead on the floor.
Okay. The story doesn't say that they fell from the trees. Fortunately, I'd hate them all to hurt themselves, but it does say that his mom sewed moonbeams onto everybody. Okay, let's go on before we run out of time. Oh, I've given you some time to think about writing a story. I forgot about that. Okay, so we've discovered that he is now famous for that silver V that's around his neck. Now, after this lesson, I'd love you to go and read into Flipgrid. You think you could go and read a story into Flipgrid? After every lesson, I ask you to read or to tell your story or to read the story you wrote or to do some listening and speaking. And so far, we've had a few people that have Danya Labi, Chetsa Kandeli, JD, Tapelo, Olwetu. They have all done these things, and I'd love to see more. So please go to Flipgrid. Our story, we're not finished yet, by the way. We're not finished yet. There's the code, FAE 94999. Can you jot that down? All you have to do is go to Flipgrid, type that in where it says flip code, and it takes you straight to the page. Then here's the page, and you'll see grade 6 reading, and choose something to read and just read for 1.5 minutes to practice your reading. It's important to practice your reading. And how do you do that? You just click on that cross and you start reading. It's as easy as that. Okay. So here we have some words from the story. So as I'm gonna call out the word, and then you just call out what you think a meaning is. Famous, known by many people. Interview, he was interviewed. He wanted to be interviewed. What does that mean? He would be asked a lot of questions about his achievements. He set off for the forest or the jungle. What does that mean? He started on his journey or trip. These are all the words that were in red in the story. Guess, he estimated or predicted. Eventually, he got to his tree. In the end, after a long delay, he leapt. He wanted to leap onto the moon. What does that mean? Leap. He wanted to jump or spring a long way with great force. Somebody said jump very high. Good. What is a wound? These are two that I'm going to just ask you quickly. And sobbing. What do you think those are? Can you write your answer in the chat box? Wound and sobbing. Right. Wound, an injury. Somebody put a cut. That's right. It is an injury to living tissue where the skin is cut open. Sobbing, crying with very sad sounds. Good. Always good to make sure you know all the words in a passage when you read. Okay. Now, let's see if we've got time to do some questions. Yes, we have. So what I want you to do is fill in the following blank spaces with your own choice of words. Okay. See if you followed this story. Bear Blue Bear always wanted to be. What did he always want to be? Call it out. Right. Bear Blue Bear always wanted to be famous. Good. Number 2. He wanted to jump from a very high tree onto the, call it out, onto the, good, moon. He wanted to jump from a very high tree onto the moon. Number 3, Bear Blue Bear lived in the something mountains. Which mountains? Which mountains did you say? Right, I see in the chat box. Bear Blue Bear lived in the Himalayan mountains. Good. When he got to the top of the tree, he discovered that the moon was, what did he discover? He discovered that the moon was, good. When he got to the top of the tree, he discovered that the moon was still far away. Good. The branch started to break because it was, why did the branch break? It was really the trunk that broke actually. It was thin. Trees get thinner and thinner as they go up. Good. Or weak, you could have said. His mother sewed up his wound with a, what did she use? What thread did she use for her sewing? She sewed up his wound with a, oh, some people have been listening and following beautifully, with a moonbeam. Great, great. Number 7, all the other bears also wanted a silver something on their chests. What did they want on their chests? Right, they all wanted a silver V on their chests. Excellent. And Bear Blue became famous because he was, why did he become famous in the end? He was I wonder if anyone's going to get that one. He was what? Not necessarily because he was brave. There was another reason, because somebody's got it. Lerato. Good. He was the first Himalayan bear with a V on his chest. Great, great. Well done, everybody. You all listened really well. So basically, that's how he was before, pitch black. And if you had to go to the Himalayas today, you would see that lovely V, silver V on their chests. That's how you know that a bear is a Himalayan bear. They've got that silver V on their chests. Do you think this is a true story? Or do you think it's one of those stories where somebody's just written an idea of how the Himalayan bear got his V? The chat box. Nobody thinks it's a true story. Okay, you're right. So let's see, to show me if you understand the story. If you did understand the story, all the different events in the plot of the story, let's put these into the right order. So here they are. The branch broke and he fell on the ground. One night, he climbed up the tree, but found that the moon was still too far away. Number C, he became the first Himalayan bear with a silver V on his chest. Number D, he decided he would jump off a tall tree onto the moon. Number E, Bablu longed to be famous. Number F, his mother sewed his wound with a moonbeam. Now, could you just take those, the numbering A, B, C, D, E, and put it in the right order quickly so that the story makes sense? We call that sequencing the story. Can you do it on your paper? I won't ask you to call it out yet. See lots of ideas in the chat box. That's awesome. Okay, lots of ideas. Let's see if you're correct. So first was E, he longed to be famous. Then D, he decided he would jump off a tall tree onto the moon. B, one night he climbed up the tree, but found that the moon was still too far away. A, the tree broke and he fell on the ground. F, his mother sewed his wound with a moonbeam. C, he became the first Himalayan bear with a silver V on his chest. Did you get that order? Great, I'm happy about that. Good, good. Okay, let's go on. Now, of course, in today's story, did you notice the 5 elements of a story that we've been dealing with in these last 2 weeks? Were there characters in the story? Yes, quite a lot of characters today, right? Was there a setting? Today's setting was right there in the snow in the forest by that big tree. Was there a conflict? Would you say there's a conflict? What would you say the conflict was? Anybody going to write it in the chat box? Well, I think the conflict was that he wanted to get onto the moon. So the plot were all those events that we've just sequenced. There were a lot of things that happened. And it was resolved, not in the way that he wanted, but he did become famous because he was the first bear to get the V on his chest. Okay, so our story had all 5 elements today: characters, setting, conflict, plot, resolution. Okay, let's go on. Now I'm hoping that we've got time to do cause and effect, because that's quite an important thing. You know what cause and effect is? I don't think we had time to do it last week. Oh, why is this not working now? Oh, there we are. So cause and effect is when something happens and that makes something else happen. One is the cause and one is the effect. So normally you'd have to take your sentence, like the deodar tree swayed in the wind, and find out, you have to say what happened. So what happened was the tree swayed. That's the effect. And what caused that? The wind. Okay, so we try that. Divide these sentences into cause and effect. Blue Bear climbed the tree because he wanted to jump on the moon. What is the cause and what's the effect? So ask yourself, what happened? He climbed the tree. Why? What is the cause? He wanted to jump on the moon. So the cause is he wanted to jump on the moon. Effect, he climbed the tree. So do you understand that part? You first ask what happened. He climbed the tree. Why? He wanted to jump on the moon. Let's go on. Blue Bear was famous because he had a silver V on his neck, on his chest. So what happened? He was famous. Why? Because he had a silver V on his neck. You got it? You got it? Okay. The branch broke because Blue was too heavy. What happened? The branch broke. Why? What was the cause? Blue was too heavy. And the last one, Blue's mother cried because Blue was hurt. What happened? His mother cried. Why? Because Blue was hurt. Okay, so cause and effect is sometimes quite hard to understand, but if you ask what happened and why, you'll find cause and effect. Let's go on now because time is really not on my side. So let's just, I don't know if I'm going to have time to do this, doing these questions. So I'll just quickly revise the 5 question words. The 5 was and aha. And if we had to ask questions, we could ask questions starting with why, where, who, and how. Okay, I'm going to leave that now. Now, we're getting to the end of our lesson. So I just want to remind you of what we've done today. So we worked from term 2, week 1 and 2, because you're in lockdown now, so you can't attend school. And we did the curriculum for reading and viewing. You had a discussion about the first part of the story that you missed. Some of you missed, but we did it last week. You looked at the setting and you made a prediction about the story. And if I looked in the chat box, you all seem to be pretty smart about that prediction. You read a story aloud with me, hopefully, because we're practicing reading and reading. You answered questions about the story, and from what I can see, everybody seemed to get those right. Good. You sequenced the events in the story and put them all in the right order, and you worked out cause and effect. So right at the end, I'll take a raised hand, but let's just finish this. And we haven't done any more language activities. We were going to do the questions, but there's no time. Now, today's story is from a story on the Storyweaver website. And the 2 bear pictures are 2 pictures that are free to use because they come from Wikimedia. This week, I'd really like you to practice your reading into Flipgrid. It would be so awesome. And thank you to those that have done that already. So awesome. I'm going to put the same sites as yesterday because they are very interesting sites. This Canadian site, www.farmfood360.ca, is you can go on actual virtual tours of farms. That is so interesting. And if you've got internet access and you want to go and look around the Boston Children's Museum and actually walk around, excuse me, you can do that. So I'd like to invite you to tomorrow's lesson, which is a language lesson. Tomorrow we'll do language and the next day we'll do writing. This lesson tomorrow takes our 2 stories from this week and uses them to teach you some important grammar and language. Hopefully you'll be there. Okay, now, thank you. Some people are saying some nice things. Thank you, that's so awesome. Does anybody, just now I saw some raised hands. Did anybody want to say something? Or are we finished now? We're all finished now. Okay. So I will say goodbye and I'm looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. Okay, and hopefully I'm going to look and see if there is anything in the Flipgrid. Mel, shall I take a participant's hand or do we take a hand in the last minute? Any hands? Okay, don't see any more hands. So see you tomorrow. See you tomorrow. Bye. Awesome. I don't know how you stop the meeting, but there.